Also, in Ezekiel 29, we have another example of God coming against them, their pride, Egypt's pride. And so, I say again because we went over that in chapter 28 with the king of Tyre being proud and thinking of himself as a god, and God coming against that. So here in chapter 29, we have Egypt doing that. And God says in verse 9, "Because you said, 'The Nile is mine, and I have made it,' therefore, behold, I am against you, and against your rivers, and I will make the land of Egypt an utter waste and desolation." So it's just another example of when we take credit for things that are not actually ours to take credit for, when we exalt ourselves and think of ourselves more highly than we ought. That's just dangerous ground. Something that's fascinating to me is going on. God talks about how, I don't know what to do with this actually. It's just interesting that instead of killing the Egyptians off, he just talks about it not being inhabited for 40 years. And 40 is often the number of testing. Like the Israelites were in the desert for 40 years. Jesus fasted for 40 days. The 40 is a significant number, and it's often a testing number. I don't know why yet God has Egypt desolate for 40 years, but it's interesting. And then in verse 12, he says, "I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations and disperse them among the lands. And then at the end of 40 years, I will gather the Egyptians from the peoples among whom they were scattered. I will turn the fortunes of Egypt and make them return to the land of Pathros, to the land of their origin, and there they will be a lowly kingdom. And I will make them so small that they will not rule over the nations, and it will never again be the confidence of the house of Israel." So, that's just fascinating to me. Why, I don't understand it yet, why God totally destroys some nations, and then Egypt. I can understand Israel because he's made this promise to the forefathers of Israel, saying, I'm not going to destroy you. I have an everlasting covenant with you. And he has all these prophecies about Israel. But Egypt, that's fascinating that he just scatters the Egyptians among the nations. And at the end of 40 years, he's going to regather them. And, but they will never be a strong nation again. They'll never have that strong kingdom. And Egypt will not be turning to them as a place of confidence. So anyway, if you have insight on this, would love to hear your thoughts. It's just fascinating to me.